Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the December meeting of the Policy and Resources Committee. The usual notice: the Council would like to advise that this meeting is being video and audio recorded, as well as being live streamed to YouTube, and it will subsequently appear on the Council website. So could I please ask that all mobile devices are either switched off or to silent during the meeting. Before we progress with the formal agenda tonight, I would like to welcome for the first time Councillor Rachel Richards, who was co-opted to the Council at last week's full Council meeting. So welcome, Councillor Richards. I hope you have a very successful time as a Spennymoor Town Councillor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Galdard.
Okay, item 1 is apologies for absence.
Councillor Mrs Smith, Councillor Gardner, Councillor Harmer, Councillor Grayson, Councillor McAloon and Councillor Mrs Thompson.
Thank you. Item 2 is declarations of interest.
None received.
Thank you. And item 3 is members' dispensations.
None given.
Item 4, public questions.
None for this evening.
And item 5 is planning.
None for this evening.
That's fine, thank you very much. Okay, item 6 tonight is a police report from Inspector Mike Summit. I've seen the inspector has just connected to the meeting, so we'll just check he can hear and speak to us. Are you there, Inspector? I think he may still be having a bit of difficulty. What we'll do is we'll park the agenda item for now, and we'll move into the rest of the agenda items. And when I know that the inspector's connected properly, we can move back to the police report. Item 7 on the printed agenda then is the external audit. This is simply a verbal update from the finance manager. Can I bring the finance manager in?
Through you, Chair. As you said, it's just a verbal update, just to advise members that the annual external audit, which Mazars do for us on the 1920 annual governance and accountability returns, now complete. And I'm pleased to report that Mazars has issued their external auditor report and certificate with no issues of concern identified. This came in quite late last week, so a formal report will be brought to Council, full Council on the 22nd of December.
That's great news. Thank you for letting us know that. I'm sure all members will be very pleased to hear that we've again received that audit opinion. And as Tracy says, that will come to full council for formal.
I think Pete's changed his name.
Yeah, I think we've sorted that. We've sorted that problem. Okay.
Sorry, Councillor Galdard, I've just had a message from Mike Summit. He is having trouble. He's going to try dialing in again.
That's fine. I appreciate that, Catherine. No problem. Thank you. Okay, item 8 is the accounts for payment, and 8A is the supplier payments for November. Members are requested to note that the list of approved payments totalling £29,236 made during November 2020. Members happy with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm up them, Chair.
that's great. Thank you very much. 8B is the paid accounts. Members are requested to note the payment of accounts by Baxor card in the sum of £70,181.37 and payments by direct debit in the sum of £33,772.42 for November 2020. Members happy to agree those?
Yeah.
Chair.
Thank you. Okay, item 9, just for watching that there is somebody trying to connect to the meeting. I'm thinking it's possibly the inspector, and if possible, I'd like to take the police report before the budget. Can the officers advise me on that?
No, it's not the police inspector trying to join the meeting at the moment.
No problem, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 9. Item 9 is the draft budget 2021-22. Members are requested to consider the report of the finance manager. I'll hand over to the finance manager to present the report before inviting discussion.
Thank you. So the 2021 draft budget, I'll take the report and appendices as being read, but I'll pull out some of the main points. So the base for the draft budget is the August 2020 outturn position. So included in the papers, we've got the summary budget, policy resources and facilities and recreation budgets. There's the movement on reserves, budget assumptions paper, budget movement summary, council tax bands, and the Public Works Loan Board schedule. So as you know, we had a consultation exercise and the budget was circulated on the 29th of October to all members, with budget workshops on 2 workshops held in November, open again for all members to attend. The 2021 draft budget stands at £1,360,181, which is an increase of £1,582 against the 2021 budget. The increase is a result of an increase in the tax base, and the draft budget proposes a 0% increase in the precept for 2021-22. So that means the Band D still stands at £219.71, and Appendix G shows the council tax bandings. The Public Works Loan Board loans and capital and interest payments are shown in Appendix H. Also, the potential movement on reserves and impact on EMAC reserves against capital works, which are referred to in the assumptions paper, is shown at Appendix D. I know we mentioned at the budget workshops that best practice indicates that reserves should be maintained between 3 and 4 months of the monthly expenditure. I'll briefly just go over the assumptions note. So inflation in the budget's included at 3%, apart from the utilities, which have included at 10%. Non-domestic rates are included at 6%, apart from those properties which had revised valuations, which were implemented in 2017-18. They currently have a transitional relief associated with them, and these increases are anticipated to be at 18%. Staff costs, pay award included at 2.75%, although this hasn't yet been agreed, and members are aware I circulated an email I think at the end of last week around the Chancellor's recent announcement around that. National insurance contributions are included at a current rate of 13.8%, and pension contributions are included at 18.9%. The capital programme, so section 3 in the assumptions paper note identifies the capital works. EMAC reserves for large assets has continued as previously agreed at £30,000, and £10,300 has been set aside again for replacement plant equipment. The EMAC reserves, section 4 in the assumptions paper, identifies the EMAC reserves which were previously established at year end. Other areas to note, section 6 of the report sets out the increased budgets included in the draft budget. All events budgets which have been cancelled in the current year due to COVID-19 have been reinstated in the 2021 budget. All budget lines have been thoroughly reviewed and examined, and where possible reduced and enable a 0% increase in the precept. The income in the budget includes the reinstatement of fees and charges, which were suspended due to COVID-19. And we've got additional income in there of £43,750 from the Central Durham Crematorium Joint Committee. This has been included in the budget. However, it won't be fully approved until January 21, but we've been assured that this will be actioned. So finally, the tax base figures have increased by 7.2 to 6,190.8 at a current Band D, which is an increase of 0.12% in the base, which is down from last year's growth, which was 1.94%. So as I've already said, the draft precept reported is £1,360,181, a 0% increase on the 2021 Band D rate of £219.71. So it's over to members. It's recommended that you note the content of the report and just consider the draft budget and provide advice and guidance how you wish to proceed.
Thank you. Can I first off start by thanking the finance manager for all of her hard work, and to all of the other officers for their hard work in putting this budget together. It's never an easy process, and it's one that takes, I know, considerable hours of time to do. So everybody should be commended for again pulling this in and in the right time scale. So thank you for that. Members have also had quite a lot of time to consider this draft budget, as we did in last year, which was my first year as the chairman of this committee. We've held 2 budget workshops for members to attend on an informal basis. Of course, that in the current times has all been done over Zoom as well. and members have been able to go through line by line on this budget report and ask a lot of detailed questions from the officers. And again, I thank the officers for all of the time they've spent in answering what I know has been quite a lot of questions from members over the last couple of weeks. And so what you'll see tonight in a live public meeting is the end of this, where members have fully considered the budget, and we'll now discuss a series of things they may wish to change on what the officers have suggested. So to enable this process to be as smooth as possible, what I intend to do as the chairman of the committee is move the budget is accepted as written. And that is the motion I'm placing on the table. I would invite a seconder to that motion.
Chair, I would like to formally second the approach that you're taking with this motion. In doing so, I'd like to make a couple of points, if that's okay.
Yes, of course.
One is the officer made reference to the receipt of money from the crematorium. As you know, this year I'm the chair of the crematorium. And while it's perfectly true that the formal budget meeting will take place in January, sadly, from the point of view of the community, the people have already passed and their funerals have been held, and the income is actually in the budget, and that budget will be transferred as a matter of formula. And obviously there is, unfortunately, additionally, funerals have been held, and therefore additional income has come in, so that money will be there and will come through to us in January. I am concerned with the Chancellor's statement on wages. It is a concern to me that, given the circumstances that we're in, that the people who are going to be finish up paying for the failure of this government to meet its proper odds is going to be the relatively low-paid workers. And while there are some protections in there, I think the message that this sends to workers, not just in the local government industry, but right across, is something which I think we should be abhorring. Can I also say that the workshop approach that we handled last year, I think, has worked well this year, and members have had a good opportunity to air some of those discussions. And I do realise some members will want to raise issues, and I may well need to come back, if that's okay with you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. So I've deliberately placed the motion on the table to accept the budget as written, and that is to allow members to put in amendments to that motion as such, and that'll be the easiest way to control the debate as we move through the night procedurally. What I will say specifically about this budget is I'm once again pleased that we've managed to hit a 0% precept increase. I think, you know, especially in the current times that we're in, that is the very least we owe to our residents, to maintain the council's services, to maintain the level of provision that we provide to our community, but to do so without charging any house a penny extra for their town council. And I think that is to be commended. Okay, I have a number of requests to speak. What I will do is request that anybody who wishes to place an amendment to the motion, which is to accept the budget, to clearly state that as part of their request when I bring them in. I have first Councillor Kevin Thompson.
Chair, I'm quite happy to accept the 0 increase. I think it would have been very difficult to do anything else under the present circumstances with the way the finances are going. I'm not going to move an amendment. I had considered it, but I'm not going to. The only thing I'd like to point out, Chair, is Appendix A, where a list of all the details of the capital programme. I would like officers to start and put a timeline there in some chronological order to some of those spends. For instance, the £50,000 that's been in for the Jubilee Park perimeter has been in there for quite a while. So I'd like to see some work established along that and one or two others just to show where we're going. But I support the 0% increase, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Did the Finance Manager wish to come back in there?
Yeah, I can come in there. Yes, that is something we're looking to do. We're looking to pull together an asset management plan, which will detail and how we how those funds are anticipated to be spent over the next 3 to 4 years. So that's something we're going to work on once the budget's finalised and reported to Durham County Council.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Dean Ranier.
Come back on that.
Yes, I suppose if you want, Kevin, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that was a positive answer, and I would just like to think that we get some papers brought back in a reasonable time, even though it's going to take 3 to 4 years to complete. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Dean Ranyard.
Thank you, Chair. I don't wish to make any amendments. I'm quite happy to accept the budget that has been presented. I agree with your comments that a lot of hard work has clearly gone into this by officers, and I thank them for that. I believe this council should obviously be providing value for money to its residents. I think it's obviously a difficult time for everybody at the moment with the uncertainty due to the coronavirus pandemic. And in that respect, I don't think we should be asking any more from our residents. So I'm quite happy that we've kept this at 0%, so nobody's been asked to pay any extra to the town council. Yeah, so I'm happy to accept the draft proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ranyard. I have no other requests to speak in the chat there. Are there any other members wishing to speak on this item? Okay. It is the budget, so I am going to request a named and recorded vote on this for all. I don't think it will be contentious. So the motion on the table is to accept the budget as provided to us by the officers. Can one of the officers please go through the alphabetical list of members, because I don't have that.
Councillor Abley,
Accept.
Councillor Foster,
Agreed.
Councillor Hiley. Hiley.
Agreed. Agreed.
Councillor Mr. Machin,
Accept the budget.
Councillor Mrs. Machin. Agreed. Councillor Mr. Madison.
Agreed.
Councillor Mrs. Madison.
Agreed.
Councillor Malloy.
Agree with the budget.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Can you say that again, please?
Yeah,
Councillor
I agree.
Malloy.
I agree.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Mrs.
I agree.
Councillor Ranyard.
Agreed.
Councillor Thompson.
I agree.
Councillor Mrs. Wood.
Agree.
That's unanimous then.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, thank you, members. Okay, I have been informed by the town clerk that we can connect to the inspector. This will be done over voice only. So we're going to try and set that up now and take the police report. So bear with me, members, please.
I'll be with you in a second.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike's now on speaker. Can anybody hear?
Good evening, Inspector.
Are you still there?
Hello?
Can anybody hear?
No.
Anybody hear me?
Ah, there we go. Fantastic. Good evening, Inspector. You're live on the Spinningmoor Town Council meeting.
Yeah, very hard to hear what people are saying. But if you can hear me,
Yes, we can. Yeah, would we like to go ahead and present the police report, Inspector?
I'll keep it brief. I'll keep it brief because I'm obviously got technical issues and I don't want to obviously spend too much time if people can't hear me completely. Just there's an opportunity here. I just wanted to obviously just give people opportunity if they want to ask me any questions, or obviously I know I was in the AAT meeting recently and I made a bit of I sort of talked about some of the issues locally, but just give people an opportunity if you didn't speak to me there or anyone else to ask any questions they have or anything I can take away and come back to them on. So it's just an opportunity to speak to me, really, which I know in COVID at the minute is a bit difficult.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll open the floor to members then for any questions that we have to the Inspector. Councillor Vanyard.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm just wondering if the Inspector can let us know about what's happening with PAC meetings. I mean, I was a regular attender at the Middleston Moor PAC meeting, which local residents attended to discuss issues in the local community. And I was just wondering if there are any plans to get those back up and running, even if it's on a virtual platform.
Yeah, that's a great question. We across the board, we've been obviously trying to do virtual meetings, and we've done at least one, but we'd like to do more. I appreciate not everyone's cup of tea, and we don't always get the same kind of response that maybe we would at the face-to-face meeting. But I think the way it is now with COVID, we're going to have to go that way. So we are planning to do another one. I'm looking perhaps in the next couple of weeks to organise one, say for 3 weeks' time. And what we normally do is we try and advertise them on our website, obviously try and put the feelers out to everyone so that they know when it's going to be. And obviously if people want questions answered or they want to raise a particular issue or theme, we can do that and get the officers who can answer those questions there as well. So that's something we definitely want to do, and we encourage people, to sort of take part in that. And the format is normally an online, as I said, usually through Facebook because it's quite an easy format, and anyone can come on and they can ask questions, and we can then live time answer the questions for you. So I don't know if that's something that all of your members or people who usually attend the PACs are able to access. It's just on our website, which is the police website, but you go on to Facebook basically, put it any more police Facebook site and it will come up. That's what we would probably do if that's something that people would be interested in.
Okay, thank you for that. Next is Councillor Pete Malloy.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'd just like to ask the Inspector a bit of a situation report on antisocial behaviour in the town. As you know, quite this year, and it's particularly around the smashing of glass from bus stops and that, which is pretty annoying for all that use them and the town in general. So I'd just like to have a bit of a situation report on antisocial behaviour in the town, how it's being tackled. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm afraid I couldn't hear everything you said, but I caught something about bus shelters and antisocial behaviour. I think, from my point of view, we've had a lot of issues in the town. Certainly before lockdown, you're right, we had damage at the bus stops, which was a big issue, and we've had it before then as well, so it's not a new thing. And I know that the town council has thankfully, and as I said, I'm a great supporter of trying to prevent crime rather than always dealing with the aftermath, and they're looking at different type of glass in the bus shelter, and that's an issue which I think, is prevention is better than cure, because it's often difficult to prove who's responsible. But in terms of general ASB in the town, I can say that, compared with last year, the year before, this time of year, and whether it's COVID or not, the levels we're seeing are not anywhere near what they were. I know that's no comfort to people who do become a victim of antisocial behaviour, particularly if they get targeted. And we're still out there, we're still dealing with it. But in terms of numbers and volume, we're not looking at anything like we were. However, saying that, we always alert to what's going on. And if we see a trend appearing or a particular issue, the officers are out there, the police are still working out there, and we're still dealing with it. Are you raising a particular issue with ASB in any particular parts anymore at the minute? Because as I said, I'm not personally seeing any patterns emerging at the minute.
No, not really at the moment. It's obviously because of the current situation. As you say, seems to have died down, but it's just historical. And obviously, when we get out of this current situation, eventually, I'd like to think that things won't return back to normal, as in regards of the antisocial behaviour and vandalism. But it's just to reassure the community, really.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the vandalism, as I said, that is historic now, and in that particular case, we did identify some young people involved. We had issues trying to actually prove who was responsible for causing the damage for the bus shelters, but I think, and it's the same. We get the same in Ferry Hill. We've had those bus stop smashed up recently. The same has happened in Bishop Auckland. It's a common theme, and as I said, the solution, it's not necessarily going to stop people damaging things, but the solution to people smashing windows out and creating that kind of level of danger, if you like, with the glass and the eyesore that it is to try and change the type of material that's in there. That means that when they try to smash it, it doesn't smash and they go elsewhere. So, I think trying to design out crime, it's an old idea, it's not a new idea, but it does work, and it sometimes changes people's behaviour. So I think that's a really positive step. CCTV, again, we rely on that quite heavily, but again, it's not the panacea for trying to prevent or stop crime happening or antisocial behaviour. So in reality, it's old methods that work. It's getting out there, it's being there in the right places, it's identifying the people involved, it's dealing with the reasons they're causing that in the first place, which are complex. But, to try and test the formula, and we rest assured, when we do come out of this lockdown and if things do return to what they were before or similar, we will continue to deal with it effectively, as we always have been.
Okay, thank you for your answers.
Okay, thanks for that. Next up is Councillor Kevin Thompson.
Chair, I was a bit quick off the mark. I think I've typed in for item 10. My apologies.
No problem at all, Kevin. Councillor Ian Machin.
Yeah, I just wonder if Mike could give us an update on crime around Spennymoor area, in the villages, in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
Councillor Ranyard said we haven't had there's been no pack meeting.
Yeah, I'll give a very brief sort of overview of the last month, maybe a couple of months. COVID has impacted on crime in different ways. The stuff that's increased, you won't necessarily be aware of or know, because it's domestic-related crime, which unless you're a victim yourself or you've been impacted by it because it's happening near you, you wouldn't necessarily notice that rise. But we have seen that rise because of people being inside the houses more. But in terms of what we class as volume crime, your burglaries, your car crime, and other types of categories of crime, I think they're at a lower level than they would normally be. That said, we have seen spikes because we've got some active criminals, travelling criminals, and the example I give will be the catalytic converters who, cars being targeted for that, for the metal, and we've seen that across Spennymoor, Ferry Hill, Bishop Auckland, Shildon. It's people travelling in and out, committing the crime, and I think Spennymoor had a couple burglaries. Again, we have had some burglaries, but the individuals involved have been dealt with. They're no longer in the area. So, by and large, if we are getting crimes happening, I can say that we've managed to tackle them in terms of identifying who's involved, convicting people, getting them away, getting them taken to prison. I'm not saying they always stay in prison or that they're there as long as I'd like them to be, but we are being pretty. I would say we're being pretty quick in terms of dealing with these things, and we've got a really good working relationship with CID and some of the other departments. So for me, I'm happy the direction it's going in with crime, but we will always see now and then the odd, as I said, spike or blip, and those things usually are accounted for by other patterns of crime happening in other areas. It's not always in isolation. So I mean, by and large, as I said, compared with like last year before, we are looking at slightly less crime than we would have done normally.
Okay. Next question from Councillor Ron Hiley.
Hi, Mike. My question is relating to open drug dealing around Spennymoor, and especially in my ward, Middleton Moor, where people are subjected to drug dealing going on in the open. I've noticed a few times around the Co-op and Iceland in the town centre itself, where people are dealing with drugs. This has been going on, I think, now since your predecessor for the last 3 years, when I've been in office, and still nothing has been done about it. It is widely open in a lot of areas around Spennymoor. Can you answer me why action isn't being taken about this?
When you say open drug dealing, you mentioned Iceland, did you in the co-op? Are you talking about in Spennymoor itself, or did you say Middleton Moor?
Middleton Moor, especially because it's my ward and actually happens at the bottom of my street, where people known to yourselves and the rest of the police force in Spennymoor, who are openly dealing in open cars, on bicycles around the Winchester area, around the Masons area, and that's in Middleton Moor alone. And it is going on in the town because I've spotted it myself, especially in the street behind the old co-op and the post office. To me, it's like it is open and everybody's saying what's going on, but we don't have any police presence and we don't appear to be having any police action on this.
Right. Well, I personally have been present when officers have stopped and searched people down there, and for drug dealing and for what we would consider to be drug running. So I think it wouldn't be fair to say there's no action or no activity. And I also, obviously, I can't go into details, but I know that there is activity going on in the background. As you can appreciate, some of these things have been going on a while, and some of the people involved have been doing it for years. So they are very astute and they are very careful what we do. So we are, as I said, I know there's been numerous attempts to tackle it, but at the minute, it's a case of trying to get it the right way and trying to get the right methods to catch them with the evidence. So we have actually had some successes around that. I know we have, and then we've had some arrests, but the key to it is actually trying to get enough evidence to put people away. We've also executed warrants. We've probably executed 2 or 3 warrants down there. Some of it's been related to what I would call, obviously, where we've had drugs overdoses, some of which have been put in the press already. But I think the issue you're talking about there, without going into detail, is one that we've been aware of for some time, and we have worked on it. But obviously, it's trying to get enough evidence to convict people and put them away for drug supply as opposed to drug possession. That's the difference. So I totally agree with you that, you know, for the people living around there and what they see, they may not see there's any action happening, and perhaps we haven't been able to publicise everything we do because some of it has to be covert. But, you know, I can say that I know there is activity going on there. There is evidence being gathered, and we have executed warrants, etc. But the difficulty is putting people away for a significant amount of time. That problem goes away because, as you know, there's more people behind the one person who are involved in supplying and dealing and running. So, yeah, it isn't an easy one to tackle. I get that, and I get that people living around there will see stuff still going on. But I do know for a fact that there has been a lot of activity around that from our point of view.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Liz Madison.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just ask, as regard to the patrols around the area, in particular the path that goes around Jubilee Park? I have done a number of litter picks in that area and come across a lot of drug packets that have been left. It is an area that youths congregate, and I wonder if there can be more regular patrols around that particular area. A lot of the youths that are congregating are actually frightening some of the residents there who are walking past. I do think that we don't seem to be having as many patrols as we should be in order to tackle that sort of problem. Thank you.
Councillor Geldat, we've just lost Mike. I'll try and reconnect with him. I won't be a second.
No problem, thank you.
Okay, we're back online.
Thank you. Councillor Madison, you may need to repeat your question.
I think I heard new spend.
Okay, great.
And well, the document.
I think the connection to the inspector has failed somewhat. Okay, I think members, we've had quite a good discussion there with the inspector, and you know, I appreciate that the technology isn't always the best in these circumstances, but all things considering, I think that's been a very productive session there and very useful for local members. And I would like to put on record this council's support and thanks for the police for all the hard work they've done during this time, which certainly can't have made things any easier for maintaining law and order in Spennymoor, and I think they've done a really good job. From personal experience of dealing with residents' casework that's involved issues of law and order, Spennymoor Neighbourhood Police team have always been very responsive to me and have dealt with issues very promptly. And I think, you know, we're very privileged in this town to have a good local policing team who have our community at its heart. So I'll pass on those thanks to the inspector when we can. Okay, we'll move back to the printed agenda. And item 10 is the budgetary control. Members are requested to consider the report of the finance manager. Now I'll ask the finance manager to come in and present her report.
Thank you, Chair. Again, I'll take the report as read, but I'll just provide a brief overview. So the report presents the financial outturn position for the 7 months to the 31st of October, with the various appendices showing a summary position as well as detailed positions for policy and resources and facilities and recreation. The format, as previous, it follows that of previous, with the projected outturn for the end of the year being shown. So at the end of October, the projected outturn is an underspend of 42,105 against £17,405 previously reported. A review of all the budget lines has taken place, and the body of the report identifies those significant variances which haven't previously been reported. Members are requested to note, because of their unpredictable nature, a prudent approach is being taken in relation to maintenance budgets, and they're all included in the outturn as fully spent. And if they're not fully spent at the year end, the outturn position will change. Just to note, following the question I've received in relation to the variance shown in Appendix A against actuals and budget to the 31st of October, the variance is actually for a number of reasons. So this includes, so it's looking at the spend that's happened at actual spend at the 31st of October in the profile budget. So the change there is, one, it's around profiling. So when we profile the budget, we identify when we think the budget's going to be spent. Now that doesn't always happen in reality. So for example, workwear, training, cleaning supplies, stationery, to name a few. So we might think we know when the expenditure is going to happen, but when it does is a different time of year. There's also timing differences between when goods and services which have been provided and invoices have been received. For example, horticulture, I know we've had all the plants delivered, but we haven't had the invoices, and that in itself is £14,000. So we've had the delivery, but we haven't had the invoice, so that expenditure is not actually reflected. Also utilities, we're waiting for some utility bills. In addition to this, there's some areas where there's been little or no activity as yet. Again, this is linked to profiling, but costs may be incurred prior to the year end, for example, HR advice, consultancy advice, advertising for staff. So fortunately, we've retained all staff, nobody's left, so we haven't had to advertise for staff. So there's those kind of activities which something could happen before the end of the year. Repairs and maintenance, as I've already mentioned. But it's too early in the year to accurately project the final spend against all these lines. There could be some overs and underspends on different lines. Therefore, at the moment, they're projected to fully spend at the year end. So it's across the members really, but it's recommended that members receive and note the financial position for the 7 months to the 31st of October.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank Tracy for sort of discussing these things that she's just spoke about earlier on. I'd like to say that the 2 nights we had for the budget review was time well spent. My only concern around that was that we only had a outturn projected figure from the end of August, and just a week after we did those reviews, another 2 months were firmed up. I would think going forward we should maybe look to delay the pre-budget meetings till we firm more months up, but that's for another year. But my concern is that we've shown £152,000 favourable variance at the end of the year at present. As we move on, that's forecasted to come down to 42,000. Chair, I find it difficult to understand how that we're going to spend an extra £152,000 to the budget that we already have in there for the last 5 months. And I understand that we do have some profiling and delayed payments, but I would like to see a little bit more information come out to exactly where those surpluses are going to go, where they're going to end up. And one of the reasons why I say that, Chair, and members may not be in a position to say anything just yet, I attended the pre-meeting of the F&R, and the F&R agenda should have popped through people's posts today. Mine certainly did. And in there is a project coming forward for £22,000 for redecoration of the town hall and new chairs. Fine, that could go ahead. I'm not complaining about that. But that's the project we know nothing about. It's
Councillor, I'll just hold you there in the interests of obviously members having a level playing field, and the fact that standing order suggests that we should only discuss items that are on the agenda. I don't think we can have a discussion around something that's on the agenda for next week's meeting. I don't think that's appropriate.
I understand that. I was only trying to give an example, but I don't. There's a large surplus, and on the sheet that we received tonight, even the information on 3.3 would suggest that the surplus is going to increase. And bear in mind that the 5 months that we're still yet to go doesn't include this lockdown month. So where I'm trying to get to, Chair, is I want to see more information coming forward to exactly how we're going to try and deal with those surpluses. I know we're being prudent on maintenance, but I don't think the maintenance is going to outweigh where we're going. So all I'm saying, Chair, is I'd like to see a little bit more information coming forward on the surpluses, and if we're going to bring projects in before the end of the year, that the chair of those committees get the opportunity to speak to them before they appear on the agenda. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Thompson. And yeah, I would expect that within any pre-agenda meeting, it's up to the chair within that pre-agenda meeting whether they want a report to go ahead to the full meeting. I know I certainly exercise that right, and you should continue to do so for facilities and recreation. Excuse me. Okay, we have a report in front of us. The recommendation is to note the report. Are members happy to do so?
Yes, Chair.
A lot of nodded heads. Thank you very much. Okay, item 11 is Northern Power Grid. Members are requested to consider the report of the facilities manager, to bring the facilities manager in to present the report.
Right, thank you, Chair. The purpose of the report is to request approval for members to allow the use of land. Basically, we've received a request from Northern Power Grid. There's a substation site situated to the north of the allotments at Timothy Terrace that may require the diversion of apparatus in order to maintain local supply of electricity. Engineers have been instructed to look at possible diversion options for the Town Council to comment on, and to see if any of them have any potential merit going forward. Members can see that these three options being put forward. The proposals are that the Town Council opt for option 1, as that's the preferred option of officers. Also, members to note that as part of the proposal, the council will receive a one-off payment of £1,500, and this is a goodwill gesture by the organisation. And also that's a proposal that the council use Evans & Co to represent us in relation to this matter, and the Town Council will receive a reasonable legal fees on completion of the work. members are recommended to consider the above and provide officers with approval to move forward on option 1. And also request that standing orders are waived to enable the work to commence as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. A number of speakers on this item. Councillor Foster is first.
Go for
Thank you, Chair. I'm more than happy to move the recommendations outlined, and obviously I'm keen to listen to the local members who may have a view on this. My only concern is my experience in electrical engineering is I'm assuming this is going to be a permanent solution, and we're not doing something today which is going to have to be undone in a couple of years' time. My impression from the maps is that this is a long-term solution, but I would like clarification from the officer if possible.
Through you, Chair, yes, we understand this is a long-term solution.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Hiley.
My question's just been answered, Chair.
That's great, thank you. Councillor Ranyard.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, option 1 out of the 3 seems like the easiest and more sensible option. All I'd like to clarify is that is about the disruption that it might cause for allotment tenants. Will it cause any major disruption for them accessing their allotments, or will it sort of conflict with any of the allotment plots?
Through you, Chair, we're not anticipating any disruption at all. And I think one thing that the council need to understand is that whether we give approval or not, Northern Power Grid have a statutory right to access our land and do this work anyhow. But as a reputable organisation, they're trying to be courteous and consult ourselves as part of this process. And you know, we've looked at this, and from an officer's perspective, we believe this is the best option and the longer term solution to the town council as well as the organisation.
Thank you. And the town clerk wishes to address the meeting.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to say what Colin's just said. They do have the powers to do this without our permission. They are being courteous, and obviously they're offering us some compensation as well.
Yeah, thank you. Members, you have a recommendation in front of you to consider the above and provide officers with approval to move forward on option 1. Someone move that?
I propose that, Chair.
That's fine, thank you. And I'll take there was a seconder there as well. All members in favour of that?
Yes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay, item 12 is Jubilee Park Community Building. This is another report from the Facilities Manager. I'll bring the Facilities Manager in to take us through the report.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The purpose is to request members' approval to allow a not-for-profit community interest company to use the community building in Jubilee Park. The Town Council have advertised the community building on at least 2 occasions to try and attract people, businesses to rent the building. These campaigns have not attracted any offers. However, it has recently attracted a proposal for a not-for-profit company based in Spennymoor. The council received the correspondence for members' consideration, which is detailed for members, quite a detailed proposal there by the company. And the proposal is that members agree to allow the company to use it for 6 months, and then the position is reviewed and a report brought back to members.
Yeah, thank you. Any members wishing to speak on the report? Are members happy to accept the recommendation? Well, Councillor Thompson wishes to speak. Councillor Thompson. Sorry, Councillor Thompson, you're still muted.
Reading the report, this could well be that there's vehicles moving through the park which aren't our vehicles. In the past, we've had a number of concerns around insurance and safety within the park, and to the point where there's some decisions are being made not to go ahead with some events and organisations. I just wonder, has anybody considered what the situation is around the insurance?
Through you, Chair, the intention would be not to allow vehicles onto our premises as previously. The premises are located quite close to Dundas Street, so there's an opportunity for people frequenting this building could park at Dundas Street and quite easily walk into the park from that entrance.
Chair, may I come back?
Yes, of course, yeah.
But we talked about recycled furniture. Surely we're not going to manually carry recycled furniture from Dundas Street to the room where we talked about.
Through you, Chair, if any vehicles, and obviously currently the council have vehicles entering and exiting the building, if there is such vehicles entering the building, then we would have control measures in place to manage that situation.
Thank you. Councillor Hiley is next.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just want to reiterate what Councillor Thompson was saying. Excuse me. The refurbishment of old and new and furniture. I do a lot of refurbishing or recycling of garden furniture myself, and I know there's quite a considerable amount of rubbish left over from any sort of work that's involved in that sort of situation. What I would like to ask the facilities manager, is there any other facility in the Spennymoor area which could accommodate this type of operation? Thank you.
Through you, Chair, the council don't have any other facilities available that we could offer.
Okay, Councillor Richards is next.
Thank you, Chair. So from my reading of this, it looks that initially it would be upcycling small items, and that it's to help boost mental health and well-being given the coronavirus pandemic, which I think is a very positive idea. And I'm sure I read something through it about engaging with antisocial youth with antisocial behaviour, which again would solve another problem within the town. I think it's quite a positive idea.
Thank you. Councillor Ian Machin.
Yeah, I'd just like to make the same point as Councillor Richards has just made. I mean, it seems to be good for the town, good for the people who are going to be involved. Assuming that the council sort of handle it like they handle everything else, it'll be all done shipshape. So I have no objections at all. I think it's a good idea. I think we should be supportive, especially as we haven't another use for the building. Well, we've tried. The officers have tried several times.
Thank you. Councillor Vanyard.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I agree with the previous two speakers that this seems to be a really positive project. It will be good to see the building come back into use after being empty for quite some time. I just want clarification from the facilities manager, please. So I take it that the 6-month trial period, that's going to be rent-free, and that position is going to be reviewed at the end of the 6 months. Is that correct?
Through you, Chair, the proposal is subject to members' approval. It would be rent-free, and a report would come back to council probably in around the 5th month for members to consider if there's been any issues, what the challenges are or what the benefits are, and make a proposal around that time for members to consider the success or failure of this project.
Thank you. There are no further speakers on this item. So we have a recommendation to agree use of the facility for a period of 6 months and for the position to be reviewed after this period. Members happy to agree to that recommendation?
Agreed.
Agreed. Appears to be fine. Lovely. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item is a community grant application from Spennymoor Police. Can the town clerk take us through this?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it's quite a simple proposal in that over the past few months, when the police have been dealing with victims of crime and antisocial behaviour, so people who are at a very vulnerable part of their lives, they've been realising that a lot of people don't have any food in the house and are struggling. So they would like to keep a fund, well, be given a fund so that they can purchase some items and put together some food parcels. If they come across anybody in dire need, they can give them a food parcel at the time when they're struggling.
Thank you. Councillor Foster.
I'm more than happy to support the proposal that's in front of us. I know myself and a number of the members in front of us have been involved with the Spennymoor Outreach project, which has been helping the community with similar packages. It may well be that the police may want to perhaps link up with the outreach group to see if there's a way of sort of working together, which might help them on in an out of hours situation.
I think the police are on the ground and they can pinpoint the people that need it.
If we could perhaps speak through the chair.
Sorry, Chair.
Thank you.
Sorry, Chair, just to complete, I know that quietly we have helped the police out in similar circumstances on a couple of packages over the time. And if that could continue, I think it may well help us to work together.
Yes, fine. Thank you. Town Clerk, you want to come back in there?
Yes, if members agree, I'd just like to waive standing orders so we can authorise this as soon as possible. Otherwise, it won't get authorised until almost Christmas.
Thank you. Councillor Anyard?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I fully agree with what Councillor Foster said there, that it is something we should support, and I'm fully happy to go along with what the Town Clerk's requested there to waive standing orders so that the money can go to the police as soon as possible in order that they can help vulnerable families, vulnerable people who don't have food at a difficult time of year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, I have no further members wishing to speak. The question is that we accept the community grant application and waive standing orders to allow officers to take immediate action. Are we in favour of that?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you. Okay, can I thank the members of the public for attending the meeting live on YouTube tonight. We have one final item of business which will be taken under exclusion of the press and public. So we'll end the